I would like to welcome each one of you to today's session that we have scheduled with a particular objective to touch upon and discuss. Since we all are aware that this pandemic crisis resulted out of COVID-19 has created a paradigm shift across all these sectors, irrespective of the domain is concerned. So we thought of to come up with a virtual corporate meet with respect to different sectors are concerned and domains, so that we can discuss the effects that has happened due to this pandemic crisis and the shift that is going to take place with respect to different domains are concerned. Today we are going to discuss on the career aspirations and how to align the career aspirations of the business and management aspirants in this new normal. Before, without much wasting time, I will take a minute's time or a two to introduce our moderator, Mr. Jyoti Nair, Professor Jyoti Nair, sorry, uh, to give a brief introduction about his background. Before giving a brief background about Jyoti sir, I would request everyone to mute, rather all the participants who are on the mute mode, but however to all the panelists, once the speaker is speaking, the rest of the panelists should keep their microphone on the mute mode, and then the person who is going to deliver his or her speech should switch on the video and the microphone mode, so that he or she is visible while he or she is giving his or her inputs. Till that time, the other parties panelists can put their microphone on the mute mode. uh, there is some issue with my area in terms of the internet is concerned, so I will be switching off my video mode and leave it to the panelists and the moderator to take it forward. So without wasting much time, let me introduce Professor Jyoti Nair. He is one of the pillars, I would say, for of NSHM Knowledge Campus group of institutions. Presently, for the last few years, I would say he is an academician, but prior to that, coming into the academic field, he was a banker. He holds two postgraduate degrees, uh, one master degree in business administration from University of Calcutta, and another master degree in professional business studies in finance from AUT University, New Zealand. He has been part of the banking and finance industry in India and New Zealand. To name a few corporates wherein he was associated prior joining the academic field, uh, is like Escorts Finance Limited, Citigroup in India, and ANZ Bank in New Zealand. His large part of industry experience is into credit and debt management. Uh, he returned back to India in 2013 and then joined into the academic field. Prior joining to NSHM Knowledge Campus, he was associated with OP Jindal University, Raigad, and he also has a stint in the position of professor in AUT University while he was staying in New Zealand. So we would like to welcome Professor Jyoti Nair to our today's program, and I would request Jyoti sir to take over the digital platform, digital dais of ours, and guide us to the entire discussion and make it an engaging and enlightening one. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Pragya. I think you said brief, but that was not brief. You took a lot of time introducing myself, right? So, but anyway, I will not take much of the time in talking about myself. But I would love to introduce the eminent panelists today. And what is important for us is what we take from the panelists today in the wake of the new norm created by the pandemic. Pragya, is my voice okay now? Is there a problem?
No, sir, it's okay. It's okay.
It's okay. Okay. So, without wasting much time, we have four panelists today. We have Mr. Ankit Jham, we have Mr. Bunty De, we have Mr. Kaushik Banerjee, and we have got Ms. Sukanya Dasgupta. So, not in any particular order, but as I've received, I will introduce them. So, Ankit, I'll call you by the first name. I have a habit of calling anybody whom I get to know by the first name. In fact, all of you. So, I would like to remove that Doctor, Miss, and Mr. and all that. Right? I hope that's okay with everybody. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. So, Ankit works with KPMG as an associate director and leads the capability development function for two of his largest businesses. In this role, he is responsible to drive the yearly learning strategy for the firm, coach senior leaders, design and deliver enterprise-level learning solutions. He's also part of the internal complaints committee for sexual harassment cases, an evangelist of inclusions and diversity. He's also the youngest member to be the part of a board of global faculties at KPMG EMA, that is Europe, Middle East, and Africa, and was awarded the Youngest HR Leader Award in 2019 by the World HRD Congress. A clinical hypnotherapist, neurolinguistic programming coach, and master's psychology. He has spent the last 14 years in the field of capability development. He's also the author of the book Lost and Found at 35. His first book, which entered the publisher's bookseller in its first month, is a novel based on positive psychology. He runs his own practice called as Speak Up, where he helps people dealing with common mental disorders. Alongside work, he founded a social enterprise called as Ao Khilai. They feed kids, elderly, shelter homes, and orphanages. Apart from food drives, they provide stationery to financially weak schools, blanket drives, and natural calamity relief support. At this point of time, Ao Khilai is running a 24/7 Corona helpline for the underprivileged section of the society to help them with food supplies and medicine. He's also the advisor and on the steering committee of the BRICS Chambers of Commerce. BRICS is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. So that's the profile of, I think that's a huge profile, Ankit, and we would love to hear from you, in perspective to what we had, what Pragya had told you about the basic theme of today's session. Right? I would now love to introduce Bunty. There's Bunty there. Bunty De is a product manager with Cognizant Technology Solutions, having a decade of experience in building digital products focused on enhancing customer experiences. He's also an alumnus, a proud alumnus of NSHM Knowledge Campus. In fact, we are very proud to have you, Bunty. Yeah, so I'm sure you will be able to bring in a lot of your experiences to our students today who can take that forward for their future.
Thanks so much.
Sure, my pleasure. Right, now we have Kaushik Banerjee. Kaushik Banerjee is the CEO of TeamLease eHire, it's FresherWords.com and TeamLease.com. He's a seasoned business leader with close to 2 decades of cumulative experience, of which 13 years has been in spearheading sales efforts, harnessing multi-tier teams and different sales systems via direct sales, channel sales, AD sales, and e-commerce. AD is basically advertising sales, if I'm not wrong. The most significant experience has been in internet and digital media. Prior to TeamLease, Kaushik has worked with companies like Info Edge India, Times Internet, Quicker. He loves playing cricket, in fact, a league player and other sports too, and enjoys spending time with his 10-year-old daughter. He has an MSc and BSc Biotechnology degree from Bangalore University and PGDM from BVB. That's Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, if I'm not wrong.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's about Kaushik. I would now like to introduce Sukanya. Yeah. So she's Sukanya Dasgupta. She's a corporate communications and marketing professional with vast experience in B2B content marketing, public relations strategies, brand building, social media management, which includes lead generation campaigns and strategies and events at a pan-India level. With hands-on experience of integrated marketing campaigns, she has led brand building initiatives for leading corporates for over 13 years. Specializing in crisis communication, she has steered organizations through crisis and change management by developing effective and planned communication. Known in the industry as an ace marketer in India, she is presently holding the position of Associate Director, Marketing for Collier's International India Division. So, Suganya, that was a very, that line that you could make a change by changing the communication strategy. I would, during the course of our discussion, would like to, hear a bit of that. Though we have very limited time, 2 hours is actually too short a time to have so many viewpoints. But definitely, if my request would be to just give 1 or 2 lines how you were able to achieve that, which is something which I would also like to carry with me for myself, for my
absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely. And thank you for that wonderful introduction, Professor Nair.
Thank you.
Warm welcome to all the panelists and the attendees. You just picked the right thing. And I also wanted to start the session by talking about this change. So this is something that as a marketer, a situation that I had never foreseen, or I think we had never foreseen or prepared ourselves for. But, this new normal that everyone is talking about has immense potential and opportunity, to adopt this change and, create a platform which is full of opportunities, because this situation has changed the whole way way of learning, way of working, way we live, way we shop, way we interact. Everything has changed overnight. The first week of April, and as per stats, and I hope I can quote some stats here, there was an improvement of 70% when it came to LinkedIn learning, which means that, people wanted information, people wanted to learn. And this whole time has gone in adoption of technology. There has been a disruption in the market as far as marketing is concerned. So I think as a marketer and as a strategist, overnight we had to change our strategies and adapt to this new normal and use our platforms, use our knowledge and expertise to create value in the new market, continue to invest in relationships despite this change in not being able to physically meet people. But there are platforms today that have enabled us to, turn that challenge into a solution. There are solutions available today. I'm joining this meeting from Gurgaon. I think we've become so location agnostic. So as a marketer, I was into hands-on events, conferences, and it changed overnight to digital, webinars, e-learning, virtual meets. So I think the change is for the better in terms of learning, how we are learning today, how we are interacting today. And I think in the course of, the rest of this meet today, I'll enhance more on what it means to be in this new normal.
Thank you, Suganya. So, to start off with, I would love to invite Ankit to start the session today with your thoughts and views on the the theme that we are today in. Aligning management education and the aspirations of the management students in the wake of new normal, with regard to the pandemic. Over to you, Ankit.
Thank you, Professor. So I think Suganya has made some very interesting points, but here is how I see it, and hopefully that's a fair kickoff to the discussion, and then everyone else can contribute. It's important to define what a new normal is, and then we get to the second part. How does it impact management, education, business models, supply chain, so on and so forth. The new model is defined, I think, by 2 to 3 parameters. The first one is the mental cognitive ability to be agile and to be resilient, to adapt whatever is happening, embrace it, and align yourself with the change. So the new normal has put all of us psychologically at a threat, which is challenge the status quo. So the new word which you will hear a lot of times is going to be developing mental resilience and cognitive flexibility. Number 2, this is also the new normal where each individual ecosystem organization, institution should look at cost-effective mechanisms to offer solutions and products. Cost optimization has to get to a new level, and we have to get to that. The third new normal definition is that if you're not embracing technology, you're preparing and at times you're digging your own grave. I like the point because corporates are very big on events and corporate seminars, and all of that is happening in a virtual format. And some part of cost optimization is linked to advanced technology solutions. But technology solution is not just Zoom. Technology solution is how your business model is getting transformed via technology. Whether it be Nike changing the transformation model, technically is basically called as deconstruction of value chain, which means that how does your, in whatever form your business produces value, that has to be deconstructed, and then all of that has to be put together again with the influx of technology. So that is how those three things will define new normal. Now, there is going to be an impact on every profession, from a household to a housewife to a maidservant to a social body to a political body. There's going to be impact everywhere. But management education also will have an impact. And here is my concern with management education. You know, if the gap between what reality is and how management education in India was and is was this much, and we were trying, both the parties were trying to minimize the gap, that gap in the last 5 months has quadrupled. Which means that our management colleges equipped to handle emerging technologies. So here is how it looks in a routine life. If an MBA or a BBA steps out in the market, hunts for a job, and if you ask him, do you know what predictive analytics is, additive manufacturing is, and he's able to answer and he's able to display a certain kind of a functional knowledge, then we've done well. But if he's unable to, because he says, I come from a background, finance background, but that's exactly where the problem statement will be, because tomorrow predictive analytics will interfere into HR processes, financial processes, Marcom processes, and change the entire value chain. So that's a big question mark, which calls for a need gap analysis of sorts, where is the gap widening? That's number one. And number two, this is also a potential opportunity to quickly reduce the gap by ensuring that academia, on one hand, starts to walk and has started to walk already with the industry interfaces. The walls, which were so big and huge that this is industry and this is academia, needs to dilute. So if I see after this coronavirus and there is a way to come out, I would say that the industries have to go back to the management education, offer work assignments, more internship projects, and the education industry and the academia has to revise their curriculum by ensuring that it's relevant to what is happening in the market. So those are my initial thoughts, and over to you, everyone.
Jyoti sir, unmute yourself.
Thank you, Ankit. Unfortunately, I got logged out a couple of times while you were talking. So what I could pick up from you was, it's important that, as students here should just not restrict themselves to what all are taught in class, because unfortunately, we do have our restrictions. It's on the initiative of the students to look for these, terms that Ankit had just now mentioned, like predictive analytics and all those surrounding these new terms in the wake of the new normal. And I do agree with you, Ankit, that this has been for a very long time. We need to break the wall between academics and the real world, because I come from the from the business side, from the corporate side. When I entered the academic side, I see that a lot of things which we continue to do, which probably may not be really very good things, or they will not work in the real world. We are still with the age-old theories and all that. I'm more of a guy. When I teach statistics, I tell my students, please take out your laptops and let's work on the Excel. Let's work on the Excel, because that is what is needed. When you go out and for the interview, they're not going to ask you, a formula. They're going to ask you how are you going to solve it. So these are things that we need to take up in the thing, and it's a good point that you just now raised that internships are very important, and industry is now coming forward to offer more internships. May I ask you a question, Ankit? Does that also serve your purpose in any way? Because are you not leaving a lot of things in the hands of the newbies to take care of? Because see, there is no physical proximity. How do you expect to then in that case guide those students at that level to come up with the right internship, the end result of the internship?
So if I get the question right, you're saying that how does a corporate bridge a gap, or how do we bridge that gap? Is that what the question is?
Yeah. Basically, what I'm asking is, see, there are new students here who have taken on internships, say at KPMG. We are all at different locations. Like somebody may be sitting in Bangalore, somebody in Hyderabad, wherever, or even somebody may be sitting overseas. Now, there is we have felt that over these last 4-5 months, there is a difference in sitting in front of the computer and you're talking to people on the other side. Yeah. You're not able to actually gauge the body language, right? Whether that other person is able to comprehend what you're trying to say or not is not really something which you can actually gauge from the other side. So in that case, what I'm asking is, when you take on new people during the time of internship, how do you ensure that the internship goes on smoothly and your end results are achieved with no major issues? So how do you do that? How do you take up the training? See, if you're sitting in front of me and you tell me, okay, Jyoti, this is how we draw the picture of this organization, or this is how this is the software. How do you manage all that? That's my question.
Fantastic question, I think. So I'm going to try and give a response to this. See, for many years in India, at least, and I'm not talking about the other markets, people felt that hiring people who have a great IQ is essential. So they used to pick skills. In fact, the search words and the keywords you use while you're hiring, and Kaushik is there, I can talk more about it. People hire for skills. But this is the time where if you for 1 second you stop hiring for skill and you hire for value alignment and cultural alignment, your lives and your jobs are going to be easier. So if you figure out a way in an interview to speak about the other person's value alignment and cultural alignment, and those are terms which are coming into reality checks, organizations have already tried to do that salespeople need to have this kind of a value and a belief system. And if a part of our hiring is also checking for that, then the probability of success for the real internship and the job significantly increases. That's number one. Number two is then is the question upon us as corporates and as HR professionals, that how are we equipping people via technology, via conversations, via infrastructure, that we are trying to reach out to people and guarantee a outcome, and more importantly, a sense of belonging. The good news, the bad news at this point of time is that we're not going back to work. Okay, at least we are not going back to work. And if I know the other organizations they're also heading in the same direction. We are anticipating going back to work only mid of next year. So can you imagine? Now we can't wait to run our business after next year. The show must go on, and hence the alignment and realignment with our people is necessary. This was also a question I'm going to, with humility, state that nobody's got the answer. How do you keep people motivated? How will you ensure that you're able to understand body language of people or not? Nobody's got the answer. But the fact is that we're all depending upon increasing the quantity of conversations and communication with teams, so that the data point of how the pulse of the team is, that you get to know that, and finally you're able to take a call that what my team is going through. But those are some of my thoughts. To give it a very succinct and a summarized version, I think specifically for internship, if people join us, very clear roles and responsibilities will be laid out. A certain kind of freedom will be given to them to structure and to model their way. This was inevitable. This was supposed to happen with the gig economy knocking us on the head. We were ignoring this. The millennials will need to get the autonomy, mastery, and the purpose which they deserve, and which is what their motivation is. And if we aren't able to do that, I'm telling you that before we leave them, they'll try and leave us. And then the final point, obviously, is that you got to get the technical support and infrastructure proper, up and running. Ensure that the turnaround time of whatever they need in form of a support is as less as possible. So doing those random, ugly daily tasks with discipline for a team is how you will ensure that the internships are well protected. So I'm not too sure if this really qualifies for the answer, but those are my thoughts.
Now, that was a very good point that you just now said, value and cultural adjustment. That's a very important point, and I would, at the end of the session, because if I don't want to take too much of time, maybe you can, drop a couple of sentences on what we mean by value and cultural adjustment. That's something which we'll discuss during the course of our final discussion round, and I'm sure, I would also request, other panelists to also have some thoughts on this viewpoint on value and cultural alignment, right? So now moving on, I would like to now call upon Bunty there, who's the alumnus of proud NSSM. We are very proud to have you, Bunty, to speak to our students.
Thank you, Professor.
Yeah. Apart from the panelists, your presence will actually ensure our students that yes, somebody from NSSM can go out and really do wonders for them in their career if they follow the right path, right method and things like that. Yeah, over to you, Bunty.
So, thank you, Professor. So yeah, I think for the students, it is pretty important for them to know what are some of the fundamental changes that have taken place for the businesses, right? As part of this new normal that we all are calling it. So first being remote work, right? That's what the organizations are really looking forward to. Now, the reason I say this is because of this coronavirus impact, a lot of these clients have got into a vendor consolidation mode, right? So a lot of IT companies specifically are vying for that one spot to get the business because the businesses are getting impacted right now. The critical factor in this case, of course, apart from being the skill set and the expertise and the knowledge and the case studies and the history of all that you have delivered so far, the businesses also do compete on how effective or what is the kind of quality of remote work that they provide. This is another very important aspect that they provide, right? That is one important aspect that they focus on. Secondly, from a business standpoint, from an IT organization standpoint, all this while we have been focusing on agile teams, right? But now the agile teams are pretty. I mean, they operate in multiple geographies, right? They're rarely in the same room because my team, I'm operating from Chennai, somebody is in Guangzhou, China, and some of the folks are in Arizona. So it also becomes important to try and understand how to facilitate the discussion or how to go about your day-to-day work when you are part of this small agile team, which is pretty spread out, right, geographically. The digital skills is also pretty important that the students now need to look at in material of the fact, whether it's finance, whether it's HR, whether it's marketing, whether it's IT, let it be any field, right? Because the clients have gone above and beyond to adopt the digital skills that are required, right? And for some of this, I really like the point that Ankit mentioned about predictive analytics. This is one area that is really in focus right now. Conversational AI is another important factor, right? So let's say we take the example of automobiles. It is not possible for people to now visit the showrooms and try and buy those cars. So a lot of conversational AI comes in, right? So conversational AI is another important aspect that students should focus on. This is another important area to work on because it's for you to support the customers. It can be your end customers or it can be a B2B customer as a client. It is just not just not enough to just meet their functional needs. It is also very important to meet their cognitive needs. When I say cognitive needs, I specifically mean the social and the social needs of these clients. So conversational AI is another important aspect that the organizations are now embracing, right? If you look at e-learning for that matter, previously all this while e-learning has predominantly been around just being a digital mode of communication. Right now, a lot of newer technologies are being incorporated, AI, NLP, machine learning as such, which actually provides these organizations that provide e-learning capabilities to try and build that really personalized sort of an approach for the end consumer. So it's more about the kind of digital skills that you can incorporate as part of your business to try and differentiate from others, so as you can win the business. Because as I mentioned right at the beginning, vendor consolidation is a big challenge that is happening all across. A lot of big corporations are losing out on a lot of business, and a lot of organizations are gaining it. It's all about how you differentiate that. And from a student's perspective, it becomes very important to understand the kind of technological advancements or changes that are taking place that they need to embrace upon. So they'll have to go beyond their textbooks a little bit, right? I understand that management education is all about the management aspects, but the students now really need to focus on the technology side of things as well, to understand how technology can act as a facilitator, right, or as a catalyst to improve upon the experiences of the consumers. And that's how you can differentiate yourself from the others, because the students need to understand that now it's just no more about your college. With all the remote work coming into the picture, we need to understand that from a business standpoint, the options have increased, right? Because there is no curtailment in terms of the location of the student. That's not a predicament anymore, right? One student can be based out of Jaipur, who I can hire right out of Chennai, or somebody can be in Bombay. So the number of students that they compete with has drastically increased, and these understanding some of these technological trends and how these technologies help these organizations is a pretty important aspect that they should focus on. Does that answer, Professor? I guess you're on mute.
Jyoti
Mr.
sir,
Nair, you're on
can
mute.
mute yourself.
Okay, got it. Bunty, I got unfortunately logged out again for a brief period, so I couldn't really get what you were actually talking. It was all blank. But what I captured, I think I could capture a great part of what learning that you would like to, give to our students here. You were talking about, how the remote work is now going to be the new normal. That's accepted for everybody. There's no two ways about it. And even Ankit also said the same thing a short while ago, that we will be, till the middle of next year, we are not going to work. We will be at home, right? Facing, we have to go through all that, so that's fine. And then you need to have a very, you said you need a very agile team, agile team. So when you talk about being agile, that's a small word, but it speaks a lot about, how a team delivers. So I would like you to, just give a brief, for the benefit of our students, when you talk about being agile, what do you mean by really agile? You said about, you have multiple teams. You have one team in Chennai, one team in Hyderabad, one team in, say, in Junzhou, China, somebody in Texas. Right. So when you talk about being agile, what is this quality that these students need to imbibe so that they are really agile? It could be a very abstract thing, but just for the benefit of the students, you can just say a couple of words on that.
Sure. So when I say agile, I'll basically touch upon what I really mean about that. What I mean is being flexible, being able to communicate. When I say being able to communicate, I mean being able to articulate your ideas and thoughts pretty crisp and clearly, right? So these are some of the aspects that they focus on. When I say flexible, I mean effectively the mode or the style of your working, because there are cultural differences as well in terms of the different teams that you coordinate with, right? The Chinese might work a little differently than the Americans as opposed to the folks from the UK. So there has to be a change in the way you work, because all this while before coronavirus, even though we use the terminology as agile, but these were mostly restricted to one location. So let's say if I'm in Chennai, my team pretty much will be in Chennai, right? But right now that the boundary is no more a factor anymore. So you have to focus not just on the kind of work that you do, but you also have to look at some of these soft skills, wherein being being able to articulate well enough, right, crisply and clearly your thoughts. You need to be flexible enough, and you also need to be you need to be very cognizant of the cultural differences, that are there, because as part of that communication, there might be some certain things which are pretty offensive to the other person. You need to be pretty mindful of that fact as well, right? So that becomes very important. The reason, because since these are teams spread across multiple locations, there is always a challenge of time difference, right? So you are in India, somebody is in a different time zone. So you also have to overcome that challenge in terms of how do you minimize the problems or the limitations that you have because of these time zone differences. So these are some of the challenges, or these are some of the aspects that the students really need to learn. Apart from, as I mentioned before, I'm not too sure if you got that or not, but some of the technology related, some of the newer technologies that they need to embrace upon, which is precisely AI, NLP, and machine learning, because you're no more in front of your consumer. You're not talking to the customer face to face. So the next best thing, or the next best way to understand the cognitive needs of the customer, is via implementing these technologies to understand what the real underlying needs are. So these are also some of the aspects that the students need to focus on.
So, what do you reckon that, institutes like us, of course, I'm saying something which is quite obvious, but, I would just like to probably stress upon the fact that, it is equally important for, along with the institutes to get into the mode of all that you said about AI and ML and cognitive, sessions and all. But along with that, the students should also make extra efforts to pick these knowledge up. Yeah, it's
Absolutely, 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 and that's what that's what I said, that the students need to really go outside their textbooks. They cannot be limited and focused only on the textbooks that they have. The learning now needs to be more towards the more upcoming technologies. They need to pick up these case studies. They need to pick up the upcoming businesses. A lot of startups are coming up, right? So they need to understand the business models that they are implementing. Try and see what those business models are. Try and see if there is a better way to enhance it, right? There is a way to enhance it. So the students really do need to go beyond the textbooks to understand, what are the different aspects that are involved. Because I'm sure Ankit would be able to lay more light on this. But as part of even the internship opportunities that we have, skill, of course, is one factor, but value and culture is another, right? So there is this value loop that I call it, because the student brings a certain value to the organization. That the organization understands that this is something extra that the student is bringing, right? Because from a skill standpoint, the student, of course, will be taught the skills that the organizations work on. But what the organizations, at least us, we focus more towards the value that the student will bring to this particular team. What is that extra that the student is bringing? And that is not something that you can achieve right out of the textbooks. You have to go beyond the textbooks to understand these different aspects. Only then you will be able to articulate and explain well enough the kind of value that you bring to the table.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Bunty. This value and culture again featured a couple of times in the discussion. I think once we talk with the panelists, we'll probably have a little bit more discussion on what we are, what our students can learn about. As you rightly said, you cannot, you can get value and ethics from the book. But if you do not practice what you learn, in what way can you, really build yourself up is what is important. So let's finish off this session of the panel discussion. And after that, we'll get into a discussion more into how we can actually change or maybe, include this into the students' recipe for, you have breakfast, dinner, lunch, and so something like that we need to have thank you. Thank you so much, Bunty, for that. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah. So the next panelist I would like to introduce is Kaushik Banerjee. Kaushik, over to you, please.
Hey, thank you, Professor. Thank you, Pragna, for having me here. I think all three of them have been telling a lot about technology and all. Yeah, if you look at it, virtual is the new normal, and everybody has to look into it. I don't see it's going away. Like Ankit said, obviously, next 1 year we are not moving ahead from the computers. But if you look at it, so management and technology are hand in hand right now. Nobody thought an MBA grad looking into Zoom, giving interviews. But today the new normal is moved away from your interviewer is also taking an e-interview. So the student have to be prepared for that. Now, so when I look at technology, is these students, so obviously it is little easy for the students who comes from a BTech background and then they hit the masters, which it's little easy. But when you look at the normal management students, the only focus is goal is to come and hit the college with an expectation, oh, the college will help me with the golden spoon of a placement, and then they're placed, and it becomes really easy. But honestly, I think from the days of sell me a pen on the interview table, it has moved to Sudoku and all those stuff, and there are new normal where the interviewers are following. So I think the technology is technology is the medium right now where the management students should invest their time on. Now, I think Sukanya mentioned LinkedIn learnings moved ahead of about 75% on overall in the lockdown period. That's absolutely right. But if you break down in terms of the percentages of people who were on learning, the people who are working or who had a 5-year experience, 10-year experience, 20-year experience are more on that portal. And the students who are below 12 has and those edtech companies on schoolings have really got people into that mode of sitting in front of the computer and learning. But the band which we are talking about currently, the management grads, they were not there. So that was about as low as 10%. So they what my own feeling is, yes, I think nobody is saying no to Netflix, but I think they should understand the time management and reskilling and upskilling themselves to that level to make sure that they're available in the market and they get noticed. So if I'm not able to today, if I'm not able to get into something where I know my college is only giving me textbooks to learn, but I strongly believe in the new normal of virtual, the management students should move faster in reskilling themselves in technology. Yes, I think you had a discussion with Manti regarding how it is, or Ankit, how it is being tracked and all. I think the students would also learn to focus on the productivity mapping measures, because that's how you are going to be measured all throughout. So they should have a thought around how to scale myself to the next level, because I don't see a point if they don't skill themselves. They will stand a chance to even compete to an internship level. Now currently the problem areas, I would say that people are too reluctant to even go to a free internship. I mean, you tell somebody, okay, come and work with me for 3 months and we'll see and decide. Oh, that doesn't happen. Everybody thinks that on the first day I'll get my cabin and I will have my own desk and I'll have the entire things the company company gives to a 20-year-old. They also think that they should get on day one, but absolutely that doesn't happen. Now with the scenario changing, I think the ones who aspire to move faster in skilling themselves are the ones who gonna go to the next level. Over to you, Professor Jyoti.
Jyoti, unmute yourself.
Yeah. Thank you, Kaushik. I think it was, very beautifully, you just mentioned out the relevant important points. Like, it's about reskilling. So, reskilling, I guess, it applies to everybody at every stage of life. When I moved from the corporate world to the academic world, I am now reskilling in a lot of things that, I probably wouldn't have thought about maybe some years ago. So you need to constantly change, you have to learn, unlearn, relearn, all these things need to happen now. Even prior to the pandemic, this was the new normal. You need to reskill, upskill, you need to unlearn, relearn. You cannot sit in your old thoughts that you learned maybe 30 years ago, times have just changed so fast over the last maybe 15, 20 years. You are not able to grasp time in your hand. So if you are not able to grasp time in your hand, then you are probably going to be end up being a loser in the long run, right? Now, what I would like to ask is, you said management and technology go hand in hand. That's a very important management students, the MBA students or the BBA students who are aspiring to work after their degrees are over. You say that, they need to, so when you talk about technology here, I suppose you would agree that a lot of people, a lot of students who are in management are not so much scientifically oriented. So when you talk about technology, could you just be a little bit more specific, or you just give us few things about what you are talking about being technology here? Today these days everybody have a PC or a laptop. They know how to operate but what extra when you talk about technology is important for the students? If you can, Kaushik.
Okay, I think so on that technology is so now today if you look at a lot of edtech companies are coming up and saying that, oh, if your kid is about 3-year, 4-year, 6-year-old, get hands-on coding. I mean, I think so now people are trying to teach kids for coding. On the other hand, I'll just give you a small example. I mean, I think when I joined InfoEdge or when I was working with Naukri or Shiksha, I was interviewing people after a biotechnology degree, and honestly speaking, it was tangentially going over my head while I was interviewing people for sales roles and all. But then I realized, no, I have to take the step. Back in 15 years back, I had to take the step of doing a PGDM back then. But then that helped me in my career and everything. I come from a job portal and education portal. I understand that this has been the normal. But then for me also, it is the reskilling and upskilling. So while I took up team leads, this current role, the current role needed me to handle the technology team, the product team, the entire, all the teams. I'm not a BTech guy. I hardly understand anything of technologies, but it took me about only 3 to 6 months to kind of get into it. So it is, I think it is the enthusiasm which would drive the person to learn new things is what I can say. Now I know more technology than my tech head. So obviously he would be smarter in coding, but he will not be able to take me for a ride that this is not working, that is not working. So all those things change. So now if I look at it, and I was not a studious bug. I mean, never been in my life. So I would honestly say that if on technology, any technology, I'm not saying, so today, how do you give an interview on laptop is one of the technologies which people should learn. I have seen, so I've been interviewing somebody the other day. He logged in after 15 minutes of me coming in. The time was scheduled for half an hour. It moved. It only left with 10 minutes. So there are small things which would help them more. I'm not saying go and learn coding right on day one, but I think Bunty mentioned AI, ML. Nobody's saying that he will be a great coder, but then there are lot of small crash courses currently by the top companies, by the MOCs, by the edtech companies. Go learn the small soft skills, even if it takes 15 days, 20 days, 7 days, 1 month, 3 months. People should learn. Now I'm not saying there's no one particular technology which the students should learn, but I think it should develop from within that. Oh, if I want to see myself learning this, please do it. I mean, there's no way your learning will stop, which should stop, and it helps at a later period of time. It definitely helps the students. So technology, just go. I mean, people can go Google any other technology. There'll be hundreds of them currently. The thing in the market, what are the things going on, and see yourself. I'm not saying that you should ask your professors or your student or your fellow mates or your parents, but I think the self judgment of what I'm good at and what I'm bad at. If you know what you are bad at, please start doing the course with that only. That's what I generally tell whomever I come across.
Kaushik, I think that was really enlightening, and I'm sure the students who are attending this panel discussion today would have a lot to take away for their future. Thank you so much. We'll come back. All of us will come back. Let's first have Sukanya's session. So Sukanya, over to you, Sukanya.
Sorry, I didn't get you.
I thought I thought I saw your mute button, so I was about to tell you please. So it's okay
No.
now. Yeah, that's okay. That's okay.
So sorry, I didn't get the question.
Yeah, we would like you to now take forward with your views on this whole thing and yeah.
Right. So, we've talked a lot about technology. We've talked a lot about upskilling and learning, unlearning, and that's absolutely true. But, the audience here, they are young aspirants, right? I think upskilling, technology, learning will come. First, needs to identify where their passion lies, and then, work around that. You need to just don't go on a blinder, upskilling yourself, learning this, that, identify your passion first. Where do you want to really add? What are you really good at? What is your, do you have a skill set? And a very good point that I think came up in Ankit's talk, that, there's a huge gap between what we are taught in institutions and, the skill sets that we acquired through experience. Like, I can at least speak for myself, 15 years back when I started working, fresh out of my post-graduation in public relations and marketing and communications, I was brimming with enthusiasm. And, the real world, the practical world is very different from the world of college or, the world of school, college, institutions that you go to. And they really don't equip you with the right skill set sometimes, to survive and grow and be successful in the real practical world, which is very different from your textbook learning or your, what you're learning in a classroom. So a lot of the skill sets that I have at least acquired, in my career have been through practical experiences, by learning, constantly upgrading myself, being equipped with technology. But first and foremost, I was very clear that my passion is marketing, and that's where I started, grooming myself, understanding the newer technologies. When I started, we were still so heavily dependent on a newspaper to get news, cutting those clippings every day, pasting them, that I've done well for the organization. It's all changed now. News is just a click away. It's so simple to track news. It's so simple to, use these technologies to make your work more productive. Use tools which, which you can use in your daily work. But all this can be only achieved, when you're focused around what you want to really add, value in an organization with, what you're really good at. So I often, when we interview young aspirants, the obvious answers, you see the young aspirants or the new talent rattling off some answers which they have prepared or coached themselves to, probably say. The most common approach is going to the website of the organization that they're interviewing for and just learning what the organization believes in, and then, customizing your answer for that organization. Doesn't work? Okay, next one. So it's very important to, identify your passion, identify where you want to really value add. And, we talked about values and cultures. Every culture, every organization has, every employer, every brand has its own brand values, and which you can learn or, adapt and really understand when you get into that organization and start working. The values that your organization often talks about stay with you, and then you start identifying yourself with those values. But from a skill set perspective, from the organization really valuing you as an employee or as a team member would only come when you're really good and passionate about what you do, when you empower yourself with the right skill sets and constantly learn in that field so that you're up to date with your skills. So we're all talking about the new normal now, because this is the new normal that we know. 6 months, 8 months from now, when the vaccine comes and we are all going to get back in our old ways of working. But a couple of years, a new normal will come. So you have to constantly equip yourselves with those skill sets that help you to be at par or give you that edge, that you need to survive and thrive and grow in this market. Innovation, constantly adapting yourself, being flexible and agile in adopting, in collaborating, whether it's a virtual platform, whether it's a physical, meeting. Collaboration today is the key. And you can do it very well, on a virtual platform if you are equipped with the right skill sets to do so. There are so many tools that we started exploring, post March, post the lockdown, and then you realize that there are a plethora of tools available, but you should have the right set of mind to adapt and adopt those tools to make your work more productive. So it's all about empowering yourself, constantly learning, unlearning, upskilling yourself, identifying what you're really good at, and then working towards that particular area to make yourself the best in that area, or at least try and be the best in that area. You're on mute, sir.
Yeah, just normally when I'm taking classes, I am not on mute. So I'm rarely on a mute button. So I forget. There's a reason I keep forgetting that I'm on mute. So today I am at the other end. I'm at the receiving end. So that's the reason. Okay. Thank you, Sukanya. I think that was very enlightening. And let's now just open up this discussion, and we'll take the questions towards a little later. But before that, there are certain points that have come up today, and I'm really intrigued myself to know about it, because you understand I'm at an age where I'm not a youngster now. Obviously, you can make out by the color of my hair. So I also need to know about this value and culture. Agility is something we discussed. Let's have a perspective from all panelists today on what these would mean actually for the new generation that are going to take over the business world in years to come. And one good point that you said, Sukanya, was after. This is after 9 months or 8 months after the vaccine comes, we'll get back to back to what we were. And then later, again after 2 years, something else will come up, and then we need to again, relook at ourselves and see where we stand and how we need to, But my question here is, in fact, this is a question to all of you. Is this question actually bugs me quite often, that we are talking about a new normal. In fact, we all are going through the new normal scenario. But do you think that this 8-9 months or up to 1 year, whatever we have gone through, this is basically a relearning process. We have unlearned what we had, and we had done till before the pandemic, and now we have relearned quite a few new things. And what do you think would be after this gets over and we get back to a normal life? We are into the public, we don't follow social distancing, we are not wearing masks anymore, we are going to office. But what do you think will be that change that will remain with us, and which will carry from this era to an era where there is no more pandemic, at least for some time, we hope so? What do you think would remain with us? It's a very abstract question, I understand, but if you can throw some light, I think our students would maybe ponder on that and take that forward.
Professor, would you shoot the question once again?
Yeah, sure. See, my question here is that if, say, for instance, I hope I'm audible, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So my question is, just now, Sukanya said that this, in fact, you also said, in fact, all the panelists said that, this will remain with us for at least for another year, maybe middle of next year, till the vaccine is found for this pandemic. So we have all relearned, unlearned, and relearned, and reskilled, upskilled. We have done all that as we are working now. So what my students would like to take from you is basically what is that single thing or one or two things that will still remain with us once we get into the next era where there will be no pandemic, at least for some time. Because once a vaccine is through to everybody, I think this coronavirus will be gone, hopefully. And we are back to our normal ways of, no more social distancing, and no more wearing masks in public. We stop working from home, we go back to our workplaces and start working. But what according to you could be one thing that we should actually remember, or that we will remember going forward during the next phase of our life when there will be no more pandemic? It's a very abstract question, I understand, but
no, it's fair. Fair thought. My answer is also going to be a little abstract. I think when the normal times prevail, and fingers crossed they should prevail sometime soon, if something stays with us, number one, the learnings from the tough times should stay with us. Some part of it has led us to reprioritization of our own greed, reprioritization of what actually we value in life, reprioritization of what is important and what is not. It has led us to come to a point that we have really valued time, valued relationships, valued family, number one. Number two, what remains standard in any form of the business, any form of economy or a social system, is obsession to the value you create for your stakeholders. It could be my students, it could be my partners, it could be my business partners, supply chain, vendors, contractors, it doesn't matter. People who will survive will ultimately survive because they had an obsession to transform, align, readjust their business models to create a sustainable value to people. That's most important. People who've gone out of business, they weren't able to align because the passion and obsession to give that kind of a value maybe wasn't there. Second, over the next 5 years and 7 years and 10 years, and this is the latest research which comes, that why would people feel motivated to work? People will not feel motivated because of money, because of working atmosphere, no. But you see a lot of millennials, even at this point of time, and that's the exact kind of crowd we are talking to. They're trying to question the purpose, the inherent purpose of a profession. They're trying to say and ask themselves that, why am I doing this job? What is the underlying meaning of this job? And what will stay forever, irrespective of pandemic or not, is that people who are able to associate a certain kind of meaning, fulfillment, and purpose to what they do will be able to sustain these times psychologically, emotionally, scientifically. And I can talk more about it towards the end from a biochemistry part of the body. But once this time passes by, people who are able to associate a certain kind of purpose and meaning to this tough time, you'll see that their purpose quotient is extremely higher, and purpose quotient has a significant impact on your EQ as well. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you, Ankit. That was a good summarization of my question. And I would like to take a cue from your initial discussion about this value and cultural alignment. So I would like to throw it open for the other panelists also, maybe to throw some light on when we talk about value. So there are different perspectives that I would like to know. When we talk about, let me just put it straight. I come from a background. I'm a Malayali. I grew up in Bengal, so I consider myself more of a Bengali, right? So I have more of Bengali values in me than my South Indian values. I mean, if you forget your values, my culture is more Bengali. I celebrate Durga Puja with more fervor than my own Onam. I hardly remember when Onam is here. My mother calls me and say, "Oh, today is Onam." I say, "Oh, great." That's the kind of thing. So when we talk about values and cultural alignment, so can I just pose this question to the other panelists? What exactly the students when they get into the mode, or I'm not saying from the point of view of just getting selected. That's a very short-term approach. For getting selected, I prepare myself, and then after I join, I go boom, and I go back to my old roots, and I create a ruckus out there. So my idea is, that value and that cultural thing. How is it that the students would actually build on themselves at this time. So we have students who are starting from first year, second year, and the final year as well. So how would they basically align to these kind of this value and cultural these things?
So, Prof, if you allow, I can take it up. This has been my area of competence, and I'm really passionate about the subject of culture.
Please,
and then the others can join in. And I hope that's all right with the rest of the speakers as well. Just in case if you want to go take a shot, I'm happy with it. But this topic just makes me very enthusiastic about it. So here is how we simplify value culture, because in most organizations in the corporate world, people see value as an academic construct and they don't understand the implication of that. But let me tell you what a value does to you. When you make friends, when you go through divorces, when you date people, when you fall in love, any kind of a human interaction or kind of society is built upon something like a tectonic plate. This is a tectonic plate. If it moves, there is going to be earthquake. Belief system and values are like that tectonic plate. Till the time they're together, there is no earth shaking. But if there is going to be a movement and there's going to be a friction in your tectonic plate and I think, and on that note, you guys had lost me. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
So I was saying that that's how value and behavior and culture is. You don't see those tectonic plates, but you only go through the friction of the tectonic plates. No relationship ever gets over, whether it is employee or employer, a boyfriend or a girlfriend, husband and a wife. It doesn't get over. It doesn't get to an end because Microsoft Outlook doesn't work, because your expense sheets are delayed, because your security systems are horrible. 70% of the relationships get over because it was a communication issue. It was a difference in belief system. The worldviews didn't match. The perspective didn't match. And that's exactly what the problem is. So for an intern who's just starting the career, see it as dating someone. If you want to make the relationship work and your love is true to the core, then you really have to understand the other person, which means understand what the organization is, the cultural heritage is, understand how the organization and leaders have grown up in the career. Ask people who are going to work with you that what is it that you ask out of us? And then check with yourself that can I offer this? If a job demands you to travel 20 days a month and you have an issue and a belief system clash in traveling 20 days a month, you have a serious problem. Then you either need to ask, am I adaptable and agile and flexible when it comes to doing things which I'm not supposed to do or I don't like doing them? And that defines your alignment. It's a question for all new leaders, not for us, but anyone. The first question is to ability to have self-awareness as to who the hell are you, what have you become, and who are you going to be in relationship with or in partnership with. Values can never be seen, culture can never be seen, but the noise of a mismatch value and the noise of a cultural mismatch is heard, is painful, and is like a scar and a wound which you carry when you change jobs. Hence, know yourself and understand what your value system is. Is transparency your value or not? Do you find sharing information easily or not? Prof talked about that he comes from a certain background. Can you look at a different gender? What if a homosexual is sitting next to you? What if there are 3 washrooms in your office? What if the ergonomics of the office and the human engineering of the office has to be changed because the organization has hired certain blind people? Will you be able to cope that up? What if you had to take a person who is physically disabled to a meeting? What is your personality throwing up? Everything I'm telling you will come to a point of awareness and regulating what you are thinking in form of judgments and stereotypes. If you're able to do that, then your cultural alignment and value alignment is taken care. Parting thought here is when you go for a job, when you look for a successful career, I'm going to tell you upfront that your skills and your IQ does not matter. If you have an IQ of 1995, you can sustain in the mayhem of the world. It doesn't matter. You don't need to be Sheldon Cooper to be successful, who had about 125 IQ. But the point is, if you can't manage pressure, if you start abusing people, if you land up in a sexual harassment case, or if you have a terrible family life because of a terrible professional life, you are at a problem because emotional intelligence is weak. And that is exactly what organizations have started to measure, how AI of a person goes with the value of an organization. And that is exactly the new world order. Superheroes are superheroes. They're able to take stress. Iron Man was Iron Man because he was able to kill Thanos in that moment by taking that gauntlet. And that's decision making under stress. And that's the best example. Hulk couldn't do much because till the time he was unable to manage the gamma radiation from his body, which is why he was unable to do much. He didn't understand love and emotions. It's so important to get this point right, because at the fundamental level of any breakup or a bad relationship with an employer or anyone else is built upon how aware are you about your tectonic plates. So that's my thought. Over to you, Prof.
Thank you, Ankit. I think you have very beautifully, and that speaks volumes of your passion for these kind of discussions and topics that you really deal with. And I think I read out the correct background of yours when I hear you about it. Yeah, thank you, Ankit, for that. And any thoughts on that from the other panelists, Sukanya, Kaushik, Bunty?
I think Ankit has laid down beautifully, but I still would say a few words on this. I think to add with values and culture, when you are in a company, I think ethics is very important. I think that's something which is I mean is missing around 20-30% of people now when you walk into a job. I think to get things done, you do it very fast, or you bend your ways to kind of get it done. But then I think if you're ethically right, I don't see a challenge people should have in having a long career. But I think to go with values and culture, the ethic is much more important when you're inside a company.
Right. Thank you, Kaushik. What about you, Bunty or Sukanya? Anything to
Yeah, so I'd just like to add a bit to what Ankit and Kaushik have just said, that, and very rightly said, that it's very important to know the value system of the organization where you're looking for a long-term relationship, a long-term prospects. And if there is a value mismatch, then it's a big it is going to be a heartbreak, not just for the employee, but also for the organization. So it's very important to have the same value systems, have the same belief systems, and most importantly, be very clear on the expectations. Most of the times, in the desperation of taking a role, or being a part of an organization, people end up jumping into something they that they cannot probably handle, that or that they are not ready for. And I see that a lot with the younger generation, that is always in a hurry, looking for quick fixes, quick growth, promotions, increments, whatever it is, because they are they are young and restless, so they want everything early in life and as soon as possible. But and most of the time they take on more than they can chew, and that's the downfall of any probably potential good hire, because he's taken on something that is way beyond his skill set, or either he didn't understand the role, or there is a big mismatch between the expectation and what the person can add to for that particular organization. But that same person may add or be very successful in another organization where his value systems match, where his skill sets match, where he's culturally more aligned to. So, it's very, very important today to not make rash decisions in this world, in these challenging times. People do get a bit desperate, and young talent does. But it's always important to, important to know what your mojo is, where you can really be successful and in turn make the organization successful. Otherwise, it's just going to be heartache and heartbreak down the line. And it's not good for either the organization, and it leaves a scar for the employee as well. Very, very, and it is, and I've seen that, and I'm sure Ankit has witnessed that more being in his role. But it's I think very important to know the organization. Like I said at the beginning that, we rattle off answers, we customize them as per the organization, probably from a website or a brochure, and then rattle off that in an interview just to secure that job, which is very important for, that talent at that point in time. But if you're planning a long-term career or you're planning a long-term relationship with the organization, then these quick fixes will not work. Only a long-term value system match, when the right organization and the right skill sets and employee, they come together, only then can it be a productive, fruitful, and long-term relationship, both for the organization as well as the employee.
Thank you, Suganya. I would, it's a very valid point that you raised about the quick fixes. I have seen that quite often. That's not just about the young generation. I've seen that in my generation also. But sometimes I do believe that, or I do feel that, that is due to the undue, the kind of pressure that the organization gives, that you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this, and you have a timeline. Of course, there is a timeline. There should be a timeline. But, somebody then, in order to achieve that, I'm not, of course, saying that's the right way. I'm completely against doing all those things, because I always believe in one thing, Sukanya, and I've always told my students also, that if you mess up, own up. If you mess up something, you are a human being. You're bound to commit mistakes. You're not superhuman. You're not God. That everything that you do will be all right and everything will be as per plan. So there could be situations. I've messed up big time in my life, during my early part of my career. But initially I would feel, my goodness, how do I go and face my boss? Or not my boss. My boss's boss is general manager. How do I go and face him? I have got solid bashings from, and not physically, but the gali you say from my bosses on this. And but one thing they had appreciated in life is, Jyoti, you have always owned up when you have messed up. So it is important that we own up when you do, when you commit a mistake. After all, we all are human beings. In fact, I'll just relate a small example. When I was in New Zealand, due to the mistake of in another bank, I don't know if you've heard of this bank called Westpac Bank. Westpac Bank is a big bank in down Australia and New Zealand. I was with ANZ Bank, and we would see, we came across an article that somebody committed a big blunder in Westpac Bank, and instead of transferring 1 million New Zealand dollars to the account of somebody who had sanctioned a loan of 1 million, 10 million got transferred. So 1 million, 10 million got transferred, and they came to know about it within a span of some few 7-8 hours. The bank came to know about the mistake, but by that time the person had already taken off with the money and left the country. I mean, it was so quick and so swift. But that person was not sacked. The person who committed that error was not sacked. He was, of course, reprimanded. That's what I get to know. And he continued for quite a long time in that banking system in spite of that mistake. So I would say that, as a part of my learning, I would like to share with everybody, if you mess up, you own up. Simple. If I committed something wrong, just stand up and say, okay, I committed this mistake. Now let's find a solution to it, instead of, just trying to hide. If you try to hide one thing, something else will come up. So it becomes a chain of lies, I would say, a chain of lies, or you keep on hiding, and then it becomes a, house of cards, and one day it crashes and it's all over. So that's the thing. But one thing I would like to raise here is, normally, people rush to these things because they are under too much of pressure from the employers. Then there's peer pressure that my friend or my co-mate is doing better than what I am doing, so I need to get into the good books of my bosses. So these are things one needs to come out of. If what I'm saying makes sense to everybody, right?
It does. In fact, just to add to that point, Professor, you need to be pretty self-aware, right, of your skills as well as of your challenges, because as Sukanya rightly said, just because of peer pressure and the way how the others around you are doing, you kind of try and jump into that scenario. So it's very important for you to have some sort of a self-realization, to even understand what is it that you want, right? What is it that you need? What are the values and ethics that you have so far, right? Yeah. And based on that, even when, let's say, you're trying to shortlist an organization with which you want to work, right, in the near future, it becomes very important to try and see, does the other organization also has the similar sort of values that they share with you, right? Which actually gives you the chance to try and build that and look for that long-term relationship that you want to, right? Because right now what happens is these, these youngsters, they jump in, they take up the job, but probably in a year's time, they move on. Now, purely because they want growth or they need more money, but it is all a pretty short-term solution. It's not going to help them in the longer run. From a longer run perspective, as Sukanya rightly put it, it has to be in terms of of course, it is a combination of your values, your skills, and your ethics, right, which you bring to the organization day in and day out as part of your day-to-day job. So it's very important to have that self-realization and be self-aware of what you are good at. I mean, you should be able to identify what you are good at and what you are not good at. And if you cannot do that, well, I guess then there is a problem. Because if you yourself cannot understand your own competencies and your shortcomings, then you possibly need external help for you to understand what that is, and then move the right path.
Right. Thank you, Bunty. That's really interesting. So we would now, like to move towards the Q&A sessions. I see a lot of questions which have come up to me. So if you don't mind, can I speak a question answer session, please? All of you, the panelists.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure,
Okay.
sure.
Yeah. So the one question that I come that's popped up on my screen is, how does one see the prospect of HR as a stream in MBA in the post-COVID era, where organizations will be more automated, or rather, I would say digitally connected?
Okay. So I'm assuming I'll have to take that question since I'm the only one. No, Kaushik is also there. He can give a point of view. So, okay, so let me bust a myth first. I don't know where and why people think that jobs are going to get redundant. People will lose jobs because of technology. That's a myth. World Economic Forum and all the reports, Industrial Revolution 4.0, third wave, never ever said that the jobs will be out. They said that the skills will get redundant. And there is a difference between skills, people, and jobs. If you do not have the right kind of skills, it doesn't matter where you are, you will be out of a job. But a technology like a hound and a ghost is not out there going to eat your job. So it doesn't matter if I'm automating my processes as an HR professional or not. What matters is that do I have the right kind of people and skills or not? For example, if all your life, if you only done operation processes, data, and suddenly I bring in a new process and automate the entire process, now your skill is redundant. Because of your redundant skill, you're going to pay the price of the job. You have a choice to enter L&D. You have a choice to venture into compensation and benefits. You have a choice to learn that automation, which is exactly itself a skill. How do you automate a process, run the change management, ensure there is sensitization, develop understanding of the technology. So please don't live in this myth that there are replacement is going to happen, substitution is going to happen. No, it's not going to happen. Even the World Economic Forum 2020 report by anyone or any eminent academician, they never said that the job's going to be replaced. They said skills are going to get redundant. And that's the answer, which is, and thank you for asking this question, because typically people are scared that my jobs are not going to be there. No. ऐसा नहीं है. Where if I'm putting a HRMS system and I'm trying to automate a process, I would still need people to run that automation system. I might not need 3 people, I might need 1, but the question is, can you be that one? अगर तब आपको HRMS automation and the entire process automation world you're absolutely unaware of, and somebody else is, then he gets the job. And the question here is not that who comes from a technology background. The question here is that you need to know automation. You need to be able to develop relationships with business and stakeholders and marry both of them. Why? Because an automation only frees up cognitive space. आपका दिमाग खाली करेगा. जो दिमाग में dashboard MIS भरा रहता है जिंदगी भर, जिसकी वजह से we are unable to take care of our businesses, establish relationships, whether it be any business. Finally, we'll be able to do that. Now, a bot will not be able to do that, and they might be able to technically, but organizations are not getting to the point that the relationships are also left to bots. So you will finally graduate to a level where your job is to build relationships, understand businesses, and add value to that. Okay. Now your question is, and the question goes back to the crowd here, can you add that value? Do you know whatever it takes to add that value? Which is why people think that my job is lost or my job's gonna go. So those are my quick thoughts.
Yeah, thank you, Ankit. That was, so beautifully you have answered that question. I hope the students out there are able to pick up what he was trying to convey. Right.
Can I
now,
just, sorry, Professor,
sure,
just
please.
add to that,
Please.
just an example. We have all of us, get those calls from telecallers, I think on a daily basis. And often, very often we hear, as soon as we pick up, there is a recorded voice that says, hi, I'm from so-and-so. I don't go beyond a hi. The moment I hear a recorded voice, I just keep the phone down because I'm not interested in building a relationship or even wasting my time with a machine. But when there is a human voice on the other side, trying to sell or trying to share something, I at least have a conversation of a minute or two. And that person has a higher potential of making a sale than a recorded voice. So human relationships, are never going to go away. And as Ankit rightly said, that it's not the job, it's not the person who loses a job. His skill sets get redundant. So I just wanted to add to that because I see a lot of comments around, everything turning into machines and just iron and steel and no people. We are talking of a world where there are no living beings in an organization. There are only going to be machines and robots running everything. It's unlikely to happen. So why is that fear so so prominently coming out from such young aspirants who are more equipped than us to learn those technologies? I mean, if we can, after working for 10, 15 years with a particular system or, mindset, we get, getting set in our ways can, sort of learn new technology. What are they scared of? I mean, human relationships are not going anywhere, buddy. So I don't think we need to be so scared. That's all I wanted to add. Sorry.
No, absolutely fine. Sukanya, yes. I think you.
I would like to add to this.
Yeah, please.
I'm sorry. I would like to add to this because I've been seeing a lot of questions around, as Sukanya rightly said, the concerns with machine learning and AI and eat up all the jobs. Well, it's not, right? Let's first try and understand what is AI, what is machine learning. Right? We still have a long way to go in AI, ML, or even NLP to start augmenting human behavior. Now, when we talk about augmenting human behavior, we are actually talking about the cognitive capabilities of a human being. Now, this is a very complex aspect, right? What the machines are really doing is making the redundant or making the monotonous job that is being done redundant, right? So as Ankit said, if you are somebody who has been doing MIS all of your life, and if there is an automated system that comes in, of course your skill is going to get redundant, but you always have the capability to learn and pick up a new skill, right? So you focus more on building those human relationships that Sukanya touched upon. You have that time freed up to start focusing on some of the newer avenues of business that you can focus on, right? Some of the newer aspects that you can assist your customers with or your consumers with. Now, these will be some of the important parameters on which any student will be judged upon. You really do not need to have the fear that machines are going to eat up the jobs. No, machines are not going to eat up the jobs. Machines are only going to do what the repetition of the task, that whatever the repetitive task that people are doing. But for it to really start augmenting human behavior, you still have a long way to go. So let's say, example, in e-learning, it's a pretty booming field, right? So right now there is a there is a concept of personalized learning or competency-based education that has come up. Now, a lot of the educators, right? A lot of these educators can now, or a lot of the people who have been working in the edtech field can start upskilling themselves in trying to see how an AI can be implemented to provide that more personalized approach. Now, this opens up a newer avenue for, of course, with a newer skill set. So you need to be flexible enough. You need to be agile enough, that I mentioned before, to upskill yourself. You cannot be, you cannot become that rigid in terms of stating that, no, this is the skill that I have. Of course, you're going to get redundant. You can look at a lot of automobile companies, right? Understand how you can use conversational AI to start help them reduce the customer acquisition cost. Now, it will open up a lot of different areas for people to think about to try and implementing these newer technologies. So, where in one way they will eat up some part of your job, which are the repetitive tasks, it will free up a lot of time for you to try and make that effort to think about the different aspects where you can contribute towards that end customer or the end user by providing them with more value. That's important. So yeah, I don't think students need to be that wary of AI, ML, and these technologies.
Thank you, but in fact, people like us should be wary of, because they have a lot of, plenty of years to learn. We don't have much years to learn, so we have to be, in fact, quick enough to adapt to the new changes. So yeah.
Sorry. Just wanted to add one point here. 90% of the technology automation failures are not because technology was weak, because the human intervention was weak. They weren't able to institutionalize that in the mindsets of people, make sure that the penetration wasn't there. So the failure of technology or the success of technology does not depend upon the brilliance of technology. It depends upon how the technology was institutionalized by the team of people, and which is so important to understand, because you can invest billions of dollars in buying the predictive analytics, but you still won't know what to do with it. And that's still a job of a human. So that's about it.
Thank you, Bunty. I again got logged out for a few, half a minute or so. So I've got another question. I think most of the questions are, on the same lines as we have been discussing this afternoon. Like one student just asked, one second. It's about what is the unique thing about this COVID? Because all about cutthroat competition, etc., had been there before. Now, what is so unique that we are going to do in this? That's probably just let me look at the find out the question, because I'm sorry if not. Yeah. This is temper of working on the wire, upskilling, reskilling, and learning agility have already been in traction given changes in market and business environment. Example, beating competition by being ahead on the features curve. Has COVID especially added anything to these in terms of it being unique to the new normal?
I'm sorry, Professor.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
No, sorry, Ankit. Go ahead.
So I'm going to quickly make a point and dash out of this. I don't know about COVID or not, but yeah, maybe COVID. But what it has taught us is that any kind of a feature, new product, new service, consider the shelf life to be halved. If you created a service which could last for 5 years, and it's true for almost any organization for business models, consider it 2.5 years. And with COVID, I'm saying that 6 months. You'll be happy if what you've decided today lasts for another year. We don't know. My budgeting is done for 6 months. Can you imagine? And I've done my budgeting for 2 years and 3 years, and we've done our strategic planning for 2 years and 3 years. So I don't know how the next 6 months are going to be. So the expiry date of my thought process, my plans, and my blueprints, COVID has shrunk it to the least possible time, which is 6 months. आपको यही नहीं पता कि 6 महीने के बाद जिंदगी क्या होगी. अभी तो कोई एस्ट्रोलॉजर ये भी बोल रहा है कि एक वाटर बॉर्न एपिडेमिक भी आने वाला है. उसकी वजह से हमको और अब क्या बदलना पड़ेगा अपने को वो भी नहीं पता है. So 6 months is what you have to think. सोच सकते हो, सोच लो. 1 साल तो मत सोचो. That's the gift.
So I'd just like to add to this a bit, Professor. I think what COVID has done is expose the loopholes in some businesses. Like I am in the real estate sector, so I construction technology. There's so much scope for organizations to adopt technology and to make their processes more viable and more productive. And what the COVID has just done is expose some of the loopholes that businesses and sectors already had. It's just that these loopholes got enhanced. If an organization had not invested in tech platforms, those organizations struggled initially. There were some organizations that did not invest in technology, never thought that it's important, but they invested a lot in cultural meets and everything, and so those organizations struggled. And just to add to that, just because there is say a Paytm doesn't mean that cash is going to go away, right? Paytm provides a solution to people today to transact money, and it has been a solution that has helped, I think, everyone across the country to transact while sitting at home, especially during the lockdown. But you still need people to manage a platform, a digital platform, or any e-platforms that have been created for the convenience of the people. So it's, just wanted to add that point there, that it just enhanced and exposed some loopholes which were there in businesses. There were no contingency plans that we ever accounted for. Like Ankit said, we were budgeting for 2 years, for the next 2 years. What am I going to do in quarter 3? I knew very well what am I going to do in quarter 1, but now I don't, because it has changed. You have become more dynamic as a team, as a profession, and as an organization. You've learned to go with the flow as things are. India is also a country with so many different states, and each state is having its own, set of, onset of the infection, because of which also your planning has gone, a bit haywire. But having said that, there are solutions, and and what COVID has done, like I said at the beginning, is we have now become more conditioned to thinking for opportunities, or enterprising solutions that we can offer to our clients, to sail through this time. So just wanted to add that.
Yeah, thank you, Sukanya. I don't know what's the problem with my connection. Hopefully now there's no storm out, so my internet connection should be stable till the end of the session. Yeah, but I see a lot of questions, which are similar to what we have been discussing this afternoon. One question that has come up for Ankit particularly, I would like to know what are the software skills that will be important in the field of HR, which we should learn at this stage of our career apart from Excel. So I think this is open to everybody. If you can just throw some light on that. Yeah.
Prof, honestly, मेरे खुद के Excel skills के इतने खराब है that I'm struggling to deal with it myself. But I still try and answer. I'm not an Excel guy, which is why in an interview I ask people that तुमको Excel आता है क्योंकि मेरे को तो नहीं आता है. तो तुमको आता है तो then it's a great thing, because then we can really bond well. But I'll try and answer this question. See, let's park the thought of software. Software is a very narrow definition. Let's talk about what, as an HR professional, I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to learn basic principles of gamification, so that my learning interventions are based on gamified principles, and we are using some of this. I'm trying to learn basics of hyper personalization. How does Netflix work? And Netflix को आप सोचो कैसे पता लगता है कि तुमने कौन सी पिक्चरें देखी हैं, and what kind of movies do you like? Take the same thought into a corporate, and if I was using the same platform and the same science to understand what kind of training programs would people want, and the recommendations are popping up, it's called hyper personalization. I'm trying to think, how can I integrate my performance development system with my learning and development system, because now there are 2 systems running, and people and stakeholders do not want these 5 systems. So that integration is starting. For the technical terminologies, here is my viewpoint. I don't need to know technical stuff. That's the fact. I need to know what technology can do for me. How can it reduce the man hours? How can I bring more cost efficacy in the long run? How can I establish business case and ask my business to invest? The coding part of it is still with the business. The language part of it is still with the people who do it for a living. but you must know what are the different predictive analytics. There is a recruitment software which enables you to figure out the right kind of resumes through the analytics. There is artificial intelligence. What is it doing? We run a bot which is called as an HR bot, which answers all questions of policies, which means that now people don't call me and check for policy. So, and that is artificial intelligence. So if you were to specifically ask me, is there anything specific to HR? All emerging technologies will have an implication of HR. You just have to name it, minus additive manufacturing, which is 3D printing, which is more from an industrial setup. But every other emerging technology, I'm telling you, in few years, blockchain will also have an impact on comp and ben. Now, we don't know the connects of these two worlds, but it will have an impact on comp and ben and how people are paid. So those are the few thoughts.
Thank you, Ankit. One interesting question that I thought I would like to raise here is there can be no revolution in management structure unless how we evolve how internships and jobs are offered. Internships are still offered on the basis of academic qualifications than capabilities. What is the parameter of judging who deserves an internship or job if it is not educational qualification? Yeah, that's one. So, Kaushik, maybe you could answer this question, maybe, or anybody else. Yeah.
So okay. So I think so earlier the parameters of internships obviously were based on his so-called academics, but currently I would say that I would say that COVID has opened up plethora of things for everyone. Now how is internship important? Now if I today, a management grad can walk out and say that I just want to learn something and start my own startup. I mean that's an open area for everyone. I mean, last 5-6 years we have seen startups like anything, and that's why some of the bigger names are there in the market, which were fairly doing well. So internship is something currently. So the choice of internship is obviously, so there are two things here, paid and unpaid. But I think the interest of the internship has to be of learning work, not that how much I'm getting paid. So I've seen students debating that I have a conveyance to be paid. The bus ticket is like this. I cannot spend so much. But then there's no discussion around what is that I'm learning today. I mean, an intern comes in, with Ankit said, I mean, you map it to one manager or the team, you start doing work together. But then what am I learning? Is it something interesting I'm learning? There's something which I would say the people should understand and start learning, that the internship needs to be taken seriously, and there cannot be it's like a 2 month of internship the college is providing. But I still, if you are a management, I mean, a grad or a post grad, if you're on it, you should be. I mean, so now that everything is online, there are a lot of work from home options available. So all the job portals have started listing work from home jobs. I mean, people can pick up and work on anything. I mean, it cannot be only 2 months. I mean, while they are studying, they should learn many things in different domains and spaces, which whatever they like. I mean, there's no hard and fast rule that they have to stick on to something. But then, but take those small internships also for 15 days or a 1 month or 2 months seriously in learning and making sure that invest that time to kind of making sure that either the company says yes, you are selected, or you learn something and go out and at least showcase those skills to the market.
Thank you, Kaushik. I think that was well answered, and I'm sure this will take away the fears of the students. You see, I would like to pose something out here. What we normally during our times, it was like once you join a job, you are as it's a cozy atmosphere. You get a place to sit, and I used to get a 286 or a 386 80 or those huge monitors and all that to work, and big keyboards and all that. We used to work on all those. But times have now changed, and there will be, I'm sure, the employers will put a lot of value in this chota advancements or improvements that you make, so that by way of reskilling yourself. So if I have done a short course on something on edX or Coursera or Eduncle, or not Eduncle, I mean forgetting the name, but all these platforms. I'm sure that's going to add a little more value to me getting a bit more employable, I would assume. So what
It
do you have to
does.
say to that?
I'm sorry. Did someone want to take up this
Yeah,
question?
no, of course. I mean, it's an open question. It's an open question. Yeah.
I mean, it does, right? I mean, it of course helps you to, try and prove it to the employer that yes, you have the credibility. But of course, apart from the skill, I mean, it's very important that once you have a certification for a specific skill, let's say maybe on product management, or let's say in any of the newer technologies or any of the topics, it's very important to also have some sort of an MVP or a proof of concept of whatever that you have learned, right? Because once you are able to build that, it kind of reinforces that whatever that you have learned on the course, you have actually implemented it. I mean, it of course helps you to put the foot in the door as part of the internship or as part of the job when you have a certification. But then the student should also be ready to answer any questions on that, because as I noticed, some of the questions were around the educational institutions and the kind of management education that is being imparted being the top two reasons for any sort of internships. I mean, as Kaushik rightly pointed out, in this coronavirus, I mean, in the times of these COVID-19, the companies are really not worried about which college you come from. I mean, if you go up in any of these professional networking portals, or you look up any of these Slack channels that are there, I mean, a lot of these companies are actually hiring for paid or unpaid internships, right? And the criteria is pretty much the same. It is all about the value. It is all about you being open to learning, and it's all about what you bring to the job on a daily basis. That's what they're doing. So in this case, the educational institution has no role to play in this, right? Because even as part of your day-to-day job, it does not matter if you come from an IIM or from any other college. As long as you can get the job done is important. So even from a certification standpoint, yes, you can get the certification done. You can get the certification done. That kind of provides the prospective employer the information that yes, you have done something similar, you have the knowledge. But the students also need to understand that that's a theoretical understanding of it. The real life implications or the real world implications will be a lot different. So while they are doing that certification, they also need to focus towards identifying multiple case studies on which it can be implemented. So again, I'll go back to the same AI piece. If you want to join the bandwagon and pick up a course on AI, try and also build up a case in terms of how it can improve, let's say, customer experience, or it will try and reduce the customer acquisition cost for some of the organization. That will probably add a lot more credibility along with your certification.
Okay. Thank you, Bunty. I don't think we have much time left. 7 minutes left. So there are a few more questions, but I thought, I'm not going to take these questions up here because they are all revolving around what we have discussed today. And I would like to wrap this session up with many thanks to all of you. All of you have really given a lot of insight into what is going on. And you're basically I'll say to a great extent, you're foot soldiers. You've actually seen the pandemic firsthand while working from home. Okay, I as a faculty, I'm okay. I've not seen the industry outside now. I only interacted with my students, but you have interacted with your clients who are based in different geographies and different locations, time zones, and a place where there are a lot of corona patients, people going through mental stress levels, and all these things. You must have gone through all that much more than we have gone through. So taking your perspective, I must thank you all for this wonderful session, and I'm sure our students would have also taken a lot of points back with them to ponder upon and work upon their own skills, reskills, learning, unlearning, and all that. Also, I would like to say that there are some few words, few terms that have really intrigued us, and those have been really answered beautifully. Like one, as we just discussed quite a few, a short while ago, about value and cultural alignment. We have spoken about agility. There's one thing that somebody said, I think Bunty, that you now you are in far more competition because you are competing with some students from Jaipur, some students from even a remote place called Jaisalmer. Some students, they may turn out to be, much better than somebody from the city. So we need to constantly, and it is actually a positive thing for us if you have to look at it that way, because in the end of the day, we are learning. For the knowledge of ours gets enhanced and enriched. So for that, a big shout out to all of you, and sharing your experiences with the students. And what else should I say? I don't think I have any more words to express. My students, I'm sure, would take a lot of positive things out of this. And with that, I would like to end this session. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you,
having
Professor.
us.
Thank you.
I hope I was able to conduct this session in the way that you had expected to. Yeah?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
guys. Bye.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.